I watch Hello Okanagan from Seminar.
All right, guys, don't forget, we've got Hello Okanagan merch on our website.
And they're flying off the shelves, guys. Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited about this new episode.
And welcome back, Peter. It's good to have you back. Guys, if you've been enjoying all this content, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and also leave a like on this video wherever you're watching. Really helps us out a lot for all future content. If you have any ideas for future guests, episodes, whatever it may be, make sure you hit the email right here and leave your ideas. We'd love to hear from you for future episodes. Peter, I'm holding a clarinet today, so that must mean we've got a pretty interesting episode. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about what it is?
I'm taking you to band camp. No, I'm just kidding. This is an Okanagan scene episode. The Okanagan music scene is very vibrant. I'm new here. I've only been here a few years, but I had the privilege of working with some wonderful entertainers, and I wanted to give them the spotlight to talk about the past, present, and future of the industry. So we've got some wonderful guests. A lot of you guys are gonna know who these guys are, and I'm really excited to let you know, and especially those that have been asking for it. Our theme song, it's almost done. You're gonna see us recording it. Stay tuned.
Where is Peter? Jeez, I can't find this.
I'm really excited. I've always wanted to interview this person growing up as a Canadian. Don Cherry gave me one of his coats. How are you, Don? Oh, I'm just joking. We're here with the one and only Andrew Johns. If you guys don't know who he is, you will soon. He's a recording artist, had a very popular band in the 80s and early 90s called Boulevard with some massive international hits. And if you live in the Okanagan and in Western Canada, he's toured in your town. You may even have seen him at some wineries. Andrew, thanks for inviting us here. Give us your history a little bit. Where are you from? Where did you start your path in the entertainment industry?
Grew up in Calgary and basically got into music out of discipline of sports. I wasn't allowed to play my sports until I was done my practicing, so it's pretty much my mother's fault for forcing me into music, really. So grew up in Calgary, joined a couple bands, moved to LA, did some recording down there, and basically got the call for Boulevard in 1984, and we went to Germany, was signed there with CBS Records 1984, then came back.
So this is the band here. Can you pick Andrew Johns out of this photo? Let me give you a hint. Is it him? No. Is it him? Nope. Him? Nope. Looks like him, but no! It's the one with the most hair. What was the biggest hit that you guys had with the band? And
Never Give Up was probably the biggest one, and then Far From Over, which that poster is for. So yeah, 2 albums, and I think we had Lead Me On was the 3rd hit, and Crazy Life was the 4th hit.
Cool.
But toured across Canada with Glass Tiger and Boston. We were lucky enough to play with Boston.
we talked about where you're from, and you know your when you moved to the Okanagan. What are some of the venues now? Let's keep the story in the Okanagan. Some of your favorite venues in the Okanagan, where you play, some of your favorite people that maybe you've worked with or performed with, written with perhaps here in the Okanagan?
Well, I mean, Silver Star was, part of the reason I really came back here was I was allowed to choose where I want to live after I lived in Vancouver and Newport Beach and Oklahoma and blah, blah, blah. And so when I had the opportunity to move back to Canada, I chose this area. Lifestyle, as you know, everything this valley has to offer. And it didn't matter where I lived because I played all over the world. Didn't plan on working in the Okanagan. And then all of a sudden it started to open up, and I was playing back at Silver Star with the Johns up at Long John's. Ended up at the Kelowna Yacht Club, wineries, Quails Gate, really good friends with Tony there. Playing down at the Cantina now in Osoyoos, great guy there, James. I'm going to miss people, right? Our own local BX cidery. They because of COVID, they
came up
started
with a
they,
whole new way
they
of doing
came up
things.
and so those are the people that are supporting us, right? Because our business just disappeared in the last.
Now with Boulevard, did you guys have like an amicable kind of like just parting of ways, or like an NSYNC style band breakup?
No. It
Sorry,
wasn't.
I went with NSYNC because of my age. So
I think you were born when NSYNC was even out.
It's like, can you spell it?
Boulevard is 4 letters too.
I know.
They took your idea, NSYNC.
Well, and that's actually, to be honest, that's what actually screwed us up, because we're Boulevard, B-O-L-E-V-A-R-D, and then for whoever's brilliant idea was to just call the album BLVD, and then our second album was Boulevard spelled out. So we ended up in 2 different record bins, and so the band never got the continuity. So it's like, oh, there's that band BLVD. Oh, there's the other band, Boulevard. And so, okay, to answer the question, we didn't get signed for our third album. And so basically the band just dissolved. Now, 30 years later, we got asked to play a festival in Europe. Went over to play in Nottingham, and while we're there, we kind of looked at each other and went, well, when are the 6 of us going to be back in London? And so we booked a day at Abbey Road Studios and went and did 3 songs and kind of went, well, that was fun.
reunion album.
And we came back and we went to Bryan Adams' studio and we did an album. And our third album is out, called Luminescence.
Congratulations.
And I actually wrote a lot of it, which is fun.
And we can find that on iTunes?
iTunes, Spotify, all the platforms.
And under BLVD or
No,
BOU?
BOU.
The long version.
Boulevard.
When I was first thinking about the show, when David and I were kind of putting a show together, the first thing I thought is we need a theme song. So who did I go to do the theme song? Was Andrew Johns himself. And
because he wanted to take a full year to finish.
No. So I think it was, our first episode was late April. So it was about early April, late March when I kind of approached you. And we just did it on a Zoom meeting, and we were recording the song and kind of coming up with ideas and such. And we talked about finishing it, but we thought that'd be way in the future, and we were busy with a lot of projects. And then when fans started writing us or DMing us, they were like, man, that's a cool, catchy little theme song that you guys have. You should finish it. So I've been bugging this gentleman for months. I finished the lyrics, I sent it to him, he put the music together. We got Rory, who goes by Knox, the famous rapper from the Okanagan here. He's going to drop a rap, and we're probably going to work on finishing that up here shortly, so stay tuned.
All right, guys, another local artist today. We've got Knox joining us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure, man.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit? Let's start with your origin story. Tell us a little bit about Knox growing up, how you got into the music industry, and your success, your failures all around.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Vernon. Went to Vancouver when I was about 21. Enrolled in an institute called the Trebas Institute for Music Production and Recording. So I spent about a year in that program, and while I was there, connected with a bunch of other up-and-coming producers, artists and stuff in Vancouver. Started getting some studio time through the school there, so we started getting in there messing around. So that was kind of the jump off for me as far as figuring out what my talents were, how I wanted to apply, what I wanted to get out of the music industry.
The Okanagan music scene.
Yeah.
Probably predominantly country or rock back in the day. How were you received as a hip-hop artist? Like, with the industry itself, with other musicians, with venues that would book you, like, was it hard to find places to play?
At first, yes. Most of the venues were tailored to more of live bands, country, rock. So to walk into a venue and sell yourself as a hip-hop artist and let them give you their stage was a bit of a challenge, but it didn't take long. Once I started performing, I was getting connected and networking with other venues. People were happy with my performances, and it just kind of grew from there.
Coming up, what were some of the venues you played at, some of the bigger gigs locally and everything that you've had the opportunity to play for?
Yeah, and throughout the years, there's been more in the 2000s, early 2000s, late 2000s. There was quite a number of larger shows in the Okanagan. So I was fortunate enough to open up for The Game in Kelowna. That was probably the largest one I did at a venue that used to be called The Bluff. And that was an outdoor venue just on the other side of the bridge there up on the hill. Did a event called Summer Jam there as well. Man, there was Montel Jordan, Cisco, a number of other large names at the time. Was fortunate enough to open up for D12 in Penticton a bunch of years ago. Yeah, minus Eminem. Slim wasn't there, but yeah, it was a good show. 3-6 Mafia was a show that happened here in Vernon at Cal Tire Place. That was an awesome show. Got a chance to go down to Vancouver and open up for Shawn Kingston, so that's another one on the resume. But yeah, aside from the larger shows, there used to be like some weekly hip hop nights going down, so you could just show up, kind of an open mic type thing. So, you know, that's just kind of part of the growing process as developing your live performances, just kind of jumping up there and sink or swim.
I mean, I personally know you and I know who you've performed with and recorded with, but what was the first track you released? What was the biggest track you released? And who did you work with recording?
Oh man, very first track I released was a collaborative effort with some fellow students of mine down in Vancouver. That song was called Eat It Up, and that's going way back. That was a lot of fun, but the biggest release I've had was actually last summer, a song called Soundtrack. Got some radio play on Sun FM throughout the Okanagan. Got Clayton Bellamy and Donnie Anderson to be featured on that track.
From the Roadhammers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I reached out to Clayton Bellamy. He's as cool as they come. Yeah, so it was all good. It was a really good experience, and that was a track we were able to cross some genres with, you know, and give listeners of whatever type of music they like something for everybody. That was the idea with that. So I think that helped equate to the success of that song. Yeah. So most recent track I put out is a song called On My Own. That was produced by a couple guys down in Vancouver, and that one's on SoundCloud. I put it out as a free download because I'm trying to get the listeners back into my world. So I just started offering a track as a free download. Don't have to look too hard to find it. Would be a good step as to kind of re-enter the game after kind of just kicking my feet up for a little bit and observing what's been going on this year.
We need to let our viewers know this gentleman is going to be dropping a rap in our theme song. We've been hearing from you guys a lot. You've been telling us that the theme song is pretty cool. A lot of you guys have been wanting to hear the finished product, so we've been working on that for the last few months. And this gentleman is actually going to be popping into the studio today to drop his rap in the Hello Okanagan actual theme song, so stay tuned.
Hello Okanagan. Hello Okanagan. Hello Okanagan.
Maybe those are the parts where he comes in and emphasizes in a rap, and then you can hear it. So like I'm going da 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 da, and he kind of goes, you know, at the end of the phrase.
But is it the same, like, are you bending the notes more or anything? It sounds a
No,
little...
what's somehow what's happening is that it's getting modulated at the end, and maybe we'll figure that out too, right?
Now it's time to cut to our Okanagan update.
with Elizabeth Flowers.
Hello Okanagan, I'm Elizabeth Flowers, and here's your Okanagan update. The Vernon District Performing Arts Center Society is proud to present Spotlight for their 2021 season. Spotlight will present diverse performances complemented by more than 100 concerts, festivals, and events. Visit the Vernon District Performing Arts Center website for more information. Tourism Kelowna has partnered up and created an Explore Kelowna Local Savings Pass. Created for Kelowna and Central Okanagan residents, this Local Savings Pass will give you access to exclusive discounts, offers from local restaurants, attractions, staycations, and so much more. With over 80 businesses participating, you can now support your local community easier than ever. Receive great deals, enter to win prizes, and do this all from the comfort of your mobile phone. Visit the Tourism Kelowna website for more information on this. And to find out how you can support local artists, artisans, and vendors, visit loveforkelowna.com. On Thursday, March 4th, join businesses and community leaders from across BC to help support people affected by Alzheimer's and dementia. At the Alzheimer's Society of BC Breakfast to Remember, it will feature keynote speaker astronaut Colonel Chris Hadfield. The virtual breakfast event will run from 7:30 a.m. until 9 a.m. with a live Q&A with Hadfield. Visit breakfasttoremember.ca for more information. And with March upon us, that means Yard Waste collection is back on. From March until the end of December, you can have your yard waste collected every other week. If you're a little rusty on what goes inside those bins, you can visit the Regional District of Central Okanagan's website, rdco.com, for more information to give yourself a little bit of a tune-up. That's all for this week's Okanagan Update, and now we'll go back to the episode.
And we're back. Really excited for our next guest. Actually met this gentleman last year when he was part of Okanagan's Got Talent. He's an extraordinary musician, producer extraordinaire. Our next guest is Kyle from Legion HQ. How you doing, my friend?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks for coming down.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to talk to you about a lot of things about the Okanagan and the music scene, which you're very knowledgeable on. But let's talk about your career first. I mean, how did you get into the music business, and where did you live before the Okanagan, or are you from here originally?
No, I grew up in Nelson, BC. I moved to the Okanagan right after I graduated. And immediately I started working in the local scene with bands and playing at the what do we call them, jam nights and live music, open mics and stuff like that. So it didn't take long before I actually joined my first band, and next thing you know, 10, 15 years had passed, and
Sweet. And then how did Legion HQ come about and everything?
So it started about 4 years ago. I had been through, many different levels of the music industry myself, in many different sort of contexts and genres. So I kind of had a well-rounded experience, and I thought that it would be beneficial to others to kind of open sort of a resource center / record label, so that we could provide artists with better resources than what they were getting already, a little closer to home, a little cheaper, and with, the experience that we have to back it up. So that's kind of where the idea came from. Our motto's strength in numbers, and we believe that the more people we have involved, obviously the stronger of a support team we have, but when one person succeeds, we all succeed. So that's, we're all kind of pushing each other to do better.
Is your favorite part being in the band, or is your favorite part being behind the board?
That's really hard. Yeah, I don't even know, to be honest. That's a really, really tough one. It changes quite a bit. I never thought, actually, I said years ago that I would never even try and learn how to be a producer or an engineer, because it was such an art form that I didn't want to dedicate the time to it. I'd rather focus on, guitar and bass and drums and stuff. So it's something just out of necessity, I had to start recording myself. And so my studio slowly started to build over the years as I acquired more gear and more experience. And next thing you know, it was this thing. So there's different things I like about it,
Someone a long time ago, when I was working in the music industry, told me that I'm an introvert when I'm behind the board. I'm an extrovert when I'm on stage. Is that how you feel? Like you're playing both sides of the coin here?
Definitely, yeah.
What are some of your favorite acts that have come out of the Okanagan in the last 30, 40 years or so that you know of? Or actually, an old one that just came to my mind. Daniel Powder had a song, Had a Bad Day. That was a song that came out a while ago. And then there's now more present. There's Andrew Allen and Sunreal, actually.
Actually, we opened up, I played in a band, 10 years ago that actually had a minor record deal, and we did touring and stuff like that, and that would have been my first minor break. And we opened for Andrew Allen back when kind of he was just getting his success.
And how do people get a hold of you if they want to chat with you about music and management and production and everything else?
We're available through our website, www.legionhq.ca. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, so.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, and best of luck with all the future endeavors and ventures you're on.
I just came from the Tour de France, ready for the next interview.
Good catch.
Oh!
All right, next we're joined by Shawn Lightfoot from the Shawn Lightfoot Band. Thank you so much for joining us today, and why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story and the history of Shawn Lightfoot?
Sure. The funny thing is I actually grew up in a really small town in the East Kootenays in Fernie, and I just learned how to play guitar there on my own, and I was really influenced by the rock bands of the day, Van Halen. I was really into them. Left Fernie when I was about 18 years old and moved to Alberta. And that's where I really started getting into like songwriting, and I started doing a lot of songwriting, especially around country, because living in Alberta, there's just no avoiding the fact that there's a lot of country music there. So a lot of the writing I did was country music influenced. Performed as basically a country music artist actually for quite a while in Alberta as well. Played Nashville North at the Calgary Stampede and Klondike Days and those kinds of things. And so, really enjoyed that, and did a lot of, recording and things like that. And then, I guess it was about 11 years ago now, decided to move out to the Okanagan for this beautiful weather. And unexpectedly ended up forming a band here actually. And, it was kind of really refreshing because here there's such a diverse, taste in music here, that, we had to cover a lot of different material, country, rock, pop, everything. And so as a musician, it's actually really refreshing. And so, I really enjoy that part of it now. And that's kind of how I ended up, leading the Shawn Lightfoot band.
The one cool thing that I need to let all our viewers know is a lot of our guests today are actual judges from Okanagan's Got Talent, which became the largest talent show in the Okanagan. The finale kept on getting moved because of the pandemic. As of now, it's the first Saturday in June, so check out Okanagan's Got Talent on Facebook and Instagram for further info. Shawn was one of the judges throughout, same with a few of the others that you'll see here today in our show. Shawn, what I want to talk about is being new to the Okanagan, and I keep saying I'm new, it's been 4 years now. What is the music scene that you saw like in the 80s or 90s or 2000s, when you were jamming in some of your favorite spots that you played? Like, what was the music scene like with originals and cover party bands?
Well, I definitely the music industry is like the scene has changed a lot in the last 20, 30 years. And I think there's been a lot of factors that have contributed to that. The internet, people have HD TV in their homes now. If they want to hear a song, they go on YouTube and they pull it down. And you go back to the 80s, I mean, there was 6 days a week. Bands could play 6 days a week and run a club circuit and just basically travel across Canada if they wanted to. And that just, through a number of factors, just slowly started drying up more and more and more. Bars started being open on Sundays around 86.
I just read that actually.
Yeah.
Last night I was doing some research that it was during the Expo in 86.
Expo 86.
They allowed bars to be open on Sundays, which meant bands now can play 7 days a week and tour.
Yeah, so, but that actually started it was kind of the decline. And then what happened in the 90s, DJ scene become really popular. And that further dried up the live band scene.
As far as like venues and most memorable gigs and things that you've played here in the Okanagan, could you name a few for ourselves and our viewers?
Sure. In the Okanagan, I mean, there's always a fantastic music festival. We've got to open for some really cool bands like Platinum Blonde. I'm trying to remember now who we played with that year. Big Sugar was headlining, and so those are really, really fun festivals to play because they're big and you just get a lot of people. And the other thing that's really fun to do here too in the community is we have the Civic Sounds. And in Kelowna they have Kelowna Music in the Park, and those are really great because those are a chance where the people who come to see you at the nightclubs actually get to bring their kids and families there too, and so you kind of get to meet all of their family that you normally only see that in the nightclub, and that's really kind of a fun thing to do.
Now, Shawn, what are some of your favorite Okanagan artists or artists that have come out through the Okanagan and potentially made it big, or some that are still located here?
Well, I'm a kid of the 80s. Like, the 80s music for me was just huge, right? And of course, it's really hard not to, to call out Darby Mills and the Headpins. I mean, I remember having that tape and listening to it over and over and over again. It made a big influence on me. And one of my other favorite bands actually came out of Kelowna, which was the Grapes of Wrath. And I really enjoyed their music. I thought they were super talented.
There's actually a couple of musicians that aren't from here originally, but call the Okanagan their home now, like Julie Massey from the Parachute Club. And
Paul Rogers from Free.
From where, sorry?
Free.
And Bad Company, I think?
They're coming here because, why? A lot of the same reason all of us musicians come here. It's beautiful and it's sunny, and you can get to do what you do in this beautiful climate as well.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Shawn. We really appreciate it, and obviously best of luck maneuvering through through the future, and best of luck with any future gigs and everything you guys will be doing.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Tell us the history of Tim. Where are you from originally?
I was born in Montreal, but I've lived in Lumbee actually since I was 2 years old. So that's a long time.
Cool. And what got you into the music scene?
Really, back when I was a kid in high school.
Don't say the decade, just back in the day.
Back in the day,
Yeah, there you go.
I was. Music was a huge thing for kids. Like because it was before video games, it was before all that kind of thing. So music was the thing to do.
Yeah.
And so every high school had bands, and it was a huge part of the culture in school. So,
Tim, I actually want to know why you're lying about what got you into the music industry, because I've been told that it's nothing else. It's just girls. That's it. That's it. Anyone who says otherwise is lying.
Have you been to Lumby?
Have you been to Lumby?
Unfortunately. Sorry, Lumpy. This is an all-encompassing Hello Okanagan.
So give us the history of some of the bands that you've been in.
Oh, God.
Like how long have the Youngins?
The Youngins started in 1989, so like we're talking, that band's been 32 years now.
Holy cow, and how did that come together?
Well, me and Brad actually he moved from Prince George way back, and he was just a sideman, and I was in between bands at the time, and we ended up getting gigs together as a side musician with this other guy, country guy. So we didn't even know each other. We'd go to a gig and we'd introduce each other and play a gig together, kind of thing. And so he ended up moving to Lavington, and I was looking for a project, and I put an ad in the paper, and he kind of answered the ad, and we kind of got together in my garage.
In the past, there's been a ton of outdoor festivals, like you were saying, from Merritt all the way down to Penticton and such. And I just wrote a few here that I wanted to push out here. Is Mission Hill Concert Series, Cedars Creek Sunset Concert Series. The Center of Gravity was like a big EDM one in Kelowna, which I don't think is around anymore. There's a ton of festivals that I'm sure, and fairs like the IP and stuff, that a lot of these bands here in the Okanagan have played. But one I wanted to talk about, which is one of the largest outdoor festivals for bands, is something that is close to your heart, Fantastic.
Fantastic?
Yeah.
No,
So
I
how
never
long
heard
have
that.
you- how long have you-
Just
How
kidding.
long have you been with Fantastic? Because the funny part is, a lot of people don't know, is David and I are board of directors on Fantastic. We're newbies, but this gentleman's been part of it for a very long time. And when did you get into Fantastic?
Probably, Fantastic first started for me back in the early 90s when Lumby used to have the ball tournament.
What was some of the bands that you actually brought in? Like throw some
That I brought in?
Yeah.
Oh, so many. From Trooper, of course, a million times. Chilliwack, April Wine, Nazareth, Kim Mitchell, Big Wreck, Prism, Harlequin,
Wow. And you did some great tribute
Northern
acts,
Pikes.
I think too, right? Some great tribute acts. I think Queen or something.
Yeah, tributes to Queen, Kiss, Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, ZZ Top, just to name a few. I mean, there's just so many. Fleetwood Mac, Heart.
And who's coming
Guns
to
N'
next
Roses.
Fantastic?
I don't know yet. Well, let's hope.
Last year, who was supposed to be there that may be at the new one, if there is?
Took. Yes, Took. Yes, Took, that great Canadian band that does.
Are they from Quebec?
No, I don't.
Le Touk?
I think they're from Ontario or something.
Oh, so they're just Touk, not Le Touk.
But they do like Canadian. They're basically like Canadian classic cover band, but they're actually super good musicians, and they do the tune. They brought the tunes to a new level so you get all the hits from these guys, and with one band basically.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tim. We really appreciate all of your knowledge in the space and sharing with us today. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hey everyone, if you like what you see,
Make sure you check us out. We've got Facebook, Hello Okanagan, and also Instagram at Hello Okanagan. Don't be sorry, you'll see all the behind the scenes and any extra pictures that we are taking while on set.